Hello, everyone. I am Aydoğan Vatandaş, the editor-in-chief of Politurco.com. Today, we have a remarkable guest from Russian Federation, Dr. Sergey Markov. He is a Russian political scientist and journalist. He is a doctor of political science, assistant professor of public policy, Department of Faculty of Philosophy at Moscow State University, professor of the Faculty of Political Science at the Moscow State Institute of International Relations, director of the Institute of Political Studies. He is also a deputy chairman of the Russian Public Forum on International Affairs. Markov serves as a co-chairman of the National Strategic Council of Russia and is a member of the Presidential Council for facilitating the development of civil society institutions and human rights of the Russian Federation. He also served as a deputy in Duma. Mr. Markov, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Nice to meet with students. I like students.
Thank you so much, sir. So I also am joined by some of my students, so they're really interested in talking about the most recent developments between Russian Federation and Ukraine. So could you please tell us what is the most recent development between Russian Federation and Ukraine? What's going on, sir?
Yeah, I think, first of all, my remarks, I think, will be quite probably curious for you and unusual. You will see my remark and analysis and thoughts very much unusual. Because I believe that the United States, it's not a neutral actor in this case. United States play a major role in those cases, in those conflicts. United States is, part of the play, but not part of the observation, and that's why. United States has information blockade for the American public of the situation which happening in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. That means, from my point of view, you have very limited information about what's happening there because of information blockade.
Mm-hmm. So what's going on, sir? Can you explain what's going on?
Yeah. From my point of view, Russia has no conflict with Ukraine. Russia can direct conflict with United States. The main reason of such conflict, United States want to be one and only superpower, and they want another country to follow its course. And Russia, they want to be the subordinate to the United States and or to be some kind of junior partner. What happened in Ukraine? In Ukraine, we have, weak democratic institutions, as you know, normal country in transition. Ukraine try to have both relationship with European Union on the west and Russia on the east. And Ukraine, playing these games all these years and enjoy from those relations with both sides. But then European Union started to make the not ultimatum, but kind of demands to the Ukraine to cut some relations with Russia and to be part of the European Union sphere of influence. It's led Ukraine to the very intensive domestic conflict inside. And it was some clashes, political clashes, and even the military clashes began in Ukraine as a result of this pressure from European Union. But European Union is not so much. European Union very influential from economical point of view and partly political. But from defense and security issue, European Union not so influential. But United States is. More exactly. The United States then started their pressure on Ukraine to cut relations with Russia. And after some hesitation, United States organized military coup in Ukraine, overthrowing a democratically elected president and imposing ultra-nationalistic junta to the Ukrainian people. The period of dictatorship come, I would say, dark night of the ultra-nationalistic dictatorship come to Ukraine. As a result, this junta killed thousands of political opponents who've been mostly, of course, pro-Russian. And this junta was a terror, used not only government institutions, but used so-called escadron of death, as in Latin America, and most of them neo-Nazi. Most of them well known, for example, Azov neo-Nazi, right sector neo-Nazi, and some other S14 and some others neo-Nazi group. And you know, now we have the puppet regime. All elections have been falsified in Ukraine. No one free and fair election happened during this time. People try to appraisal, but this appraisal of the people have been suppressed by bloody political repression by Kiev junta. And some of the regions like Crimea, people in Crimea got support from Russian troops who protected them from neo-Nazi terror. And it was because in Crimea, it was a Russian military base. And the Russian militaries come out of this base and help people to protect their life and their political freedom from neo-Nazi group, neo-Nazi terror. And in other cities like Donetsk and Lugansk, appraisal, won, but then Kiev junta started the military attack, and only after this military attack, Russian troops that helped them, and so they protect themselves. But Crimea have been invited Russia to be part of the Russia, but at the same time, Russia decided to deny demands of the Donetsk people and Lugansk people to join Russia, and they keep distance. So they support them not to be taken by Kiev repressive regime, but same time don't take it as a part of the Russian territory. So it's continue all this time. The main goal of the United States, who is in fact occupant of the Ukraine, is to make anti-Russia from Ukraine. Ukraine was part of the Russia during many centuries. 1,000 years ago, already the Kiev, which is capital of Ukraine now, was capital of Russia, and it's kept this status of capital more than 2 centuries. And after this also Ukraine, except some 3 centuries of occupation by Poland, Ukraine have been part of the Russia. And of course, the language of the majority of the people in Ukraine is Russian language. It's there are a lot of speculation of this, but it's very simple figures which come not from the sociologists, but from the some kind of digital. For example, when somebody comes to the bank machine.
Okay, so let me interfere here, sir. So you're saying that the great majority of the people in Ukraine are speaking Russian and they are ethnically Russian. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yes, exactly.
But according to the numbers, as far as I know, it is only 17% of the Ukrainian population is Russian. This is what we know. So you're saying something else here.
Yeah. First of all, it's falsified result.
Okay.
It's first of all. Also, it was some kind of falsification, some kind of pressure, direct falsification, but also some indirect falsification. Because I watch how this happen, and when people under the governmental demands come to people saying, "Oh, look, there's something. Who are Russians?" And the people, oh, probably are not Russian because probably your grandfather, grandmother, probably something like this. And I want to stress, banking machine. When some person comes to the banking machine, there are three languages: Ukrainian, English, and Russian.
Yes.
And what do you think percent of the people prefer to talk with this banking machine to use Russian language? What percent?
Sir, I understand.
97%.
Right.
It means that Russian language is absolutely dominating language of the people, and this language is prohibited by numerous laws by Kiev repressive regime. So our goal,
I understand. Thank you so much for your comments. But remember the American Revolution. The people in America at that time used to speak English, but they wanted their independence from United Kingdom. So the language cannot be considered as the only determinant. So I understand your perspective, but on the other hand,
can you correct me? Can you correct? You're absolutely right. There are a lot of countries which use the same language, but they have different countries. Look, for example, on Arabic countries, Arabic world. There are a lot of such, and look at the South America. A lot of them use Spanish, but they have, and also United States and Canada, also clear different countries. Of course, this is absolutely, I agree. But my point is not that all of them for sure want to be part of the Russian Federation because they use that. It's not exactly. I'm talking another thing. The government is prohibiting of the language of the 90% of population. It means that it's a repressive government because democratically people cannot vote for the prohibition of their native language. Can you imagine that people in California now will, you are saying in California? Can you imagine that people in California will vote for the prohibition of the English language? Of course, it's impossible.
Okay, sir, thank you so much. So I want to give one of my students, time to ask his or question. Who wants to start first? Alexander, you want to start first? Okay, please proceed. You can ask your question to Dr. Markov.
Okay. Hi, Sergey Leonidovich. I'm sorry, Alexander here. So actually, at first, I want to say that I'm totally disagree with you in the point of that Ukrainian language is like the same as Russian, because like...
No, I didn't say this. I didn't say that Ukrainian language is same as Russian. Of course, it's not safe. I want to say that absolute majority of people in Ukraine, they prefer to use Russian language. You just didn't get my point.
Okay, so...
You should listen to what I'm talking more seriously.
Okay, what is your question, Alexander?
So my question, we see that unfortunately the Minsk agreements on the settlement on the conflict in Donbass do not actually work. Is Russia ready to consider other options for resolving the conflict? Because the main value is human life. And if Russia wants peace in Ukraine, including for ethnic Russians, should it use other methods and platforms to achieve peace?
Good question. Good question. You know, a Minsk agreement, first of all, had been signed in the, now we're talking about Minsk Agreement 2. But first, we had Minsk Agreement 1, which had been signed in 2014 on September. And but it's more or less classical agreement between central government and separatists. Of course, separatists in Donbass is supported by Russia, but I would say that no one separatist in the world probably which is not supported by some outside players. Look, for example, Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Classically, of course, Turkey supported. And most of the other separatists, look, for example, who sits in Yemen. They supported by Iran. Look, for example, separatists in Idlib and Syria. They supported by Turkey. Every separatist has no chance if they not supported some big country outside. Same classical situation with separatists in Donbass. So, Minsk agreement first was sharply violated by Kiev repressive regime, who started military attack again in the beginning of the next 2015 years on January. It was another war, second war. So Kiev regime first violated by its army, military, Minsk agreement one. Then after Ukrainian army had been crushed by Donetsk separatists, by the way, with some Russian support, it was a Minsk agreement second who had been signed. It's also classical agreement between separatists and the government. It had been approved by United Nations Security Council, but then Kiev repressive regime denied to implement this Minsk agreement all this year. The point of this agreement is very easy. First of all, stop firing. Kiev regime continue to shell. Some of the, the Kiev regime propagandists usually talking, oh, it's separatists, shelling, and so on. But can you imagine the separatists, which position is, in fact, inside the main city, Donetsk city, they shelling some fields of Ukrainian army. Of course, it's not. It's strategic policy of the Kiev repressive regime, shelling every 2 nights from 3 nights the city of people to terrify the life of people. I myself been on the conference in Donetsk. I myself wake up in the deep night because of the artillery shelling of the Ukrainian army. Of course, it's very unpleasant situation. It's shock. It make you psychologically very unstable, and it's exactly the terrifying of the people in Donetsk is exactly the goal of the Kiev repressive regime. In fact, the policy of governmental terrorism. So, and I was surprised and I asked people why there are so many automobiles from America. They told, because we are zone without custom. So there are huge mafia which is taking automobiles from the American market. I mean, it's used automobiles, and then move it to the Europe. So,
Sir, Eric, did you ask your question, Eric?
Not yet, Mr. Dundas.
Okay, Eric, it's your turn right now. You can ask your question.
Hello, Dr. Markov. It's very nice to meet you. It's an honor. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
I have a question for you in regards to the recent shellings reports with Donbass and Luhansk. So this is my current question. With recent reports of artillery shelling in Donbass and Luhansk, Russia stated that these attacks are being committed by the Ukrainian military, who are trying to kill and eliminate the Russian separatist groups in Donbass and Luhansk. However, the West and the Ukrainian government are claiming these shellings to be behind the Russian military as a means of being a false flag operation to invade Ukraine. With that being said, I would like to know your thoughts on this current situation.
Russian officials think that it's Kiev regime responsible for the starting of this shelling. I think now it's not true. I think Kiev regime is shelling almost every night during 7 years. That's right. Kiev regime is regime would conduct the policy of governmental terrorism. That's right. Kiev regime want to terrify the life of the people. That's right. But now, initiative more on the Donbass side. Because I think it's first time when the Russian army appeared to be on the front, or probably second time. First time was on April of last year. April of 2021, Ukrainian army was very close to decision to start big war in Donbass. Russian army stay on the front and say, look, if you start, we will not only protect people in Donbass, but we will enter also to another southern and eastern European and eastern regions of Ukraine, and we will take them and we will crash your government. After this, Ukrainian attack had been stopped. Now this situation almost appeared, but now already initiative, I think, was not on the Kiev regime side. I don't use term Ukraine because Ukrainian people hate Kiev repressive regime. They dream about liberation or being liberation from this regime. So Russia have no problems with Ukraine. Russia have problems with Kiev puppet repressive regime. And but now it's time over for the Russian waiting of implementation of Minsk agreement, which I told during answering of the previous question. So Russia said, okay, 7 years we're waiting. Now it's over. If you not implement this Minsk agreement, okay, we're ready to act another way. That's why now Kiev regime afraid of the war. If previous time Kiev regime liked the war, now it's afraid of war because they're very much afraid if the war started, not only Donetsk and Lugansk army, which is frankly speaking more or less controlled by Russians, not more or less, fully controlled by Russians. And not only Donbass army will react, but also a Russian army will react. And it will totally crash Kiev regime. So now they are much more careful about this. Now initiative, I think, more from Donbass side and from Russian side. What Russian plan and goal? First of all, to increase pressure, make implementation of Minsk agreement. So, if not, Russia, I think, will be ready to recognize Donetsk People Republic and Lugansk People Republic, the separatist countries. Then there are few steps possible. One, just recognition. Another, recognition and building the military treaty. Next, recognition, military treaty, and setting a Russian army to the Donbass territory. Then not only setting Russian army to Donbass territory, but setting Russian army on the border between Donbass and territory which is controlled by Kiev regime. And next stage, not only setting Russian army there, but also answering on some of the sharing from Ukrainian side. Then not only answering, but answering in the big size, I mean the real hitting of the Ukrainian army. It's not only next possible stage, not only crashing Ukrainian military group, but also helping Donbass Republic to take control of the another part of Donbass, which is now controlled by the Kiev regime. This first of all includes such big cities like Mariupol, who is second city by population, but first city by economy. And also Slavyansk and Kramatorsk agglomeration, is it use rightly the English word? It's megapolis all together, Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. So it's next stage to take all these former Donetsk and Lugansk regions of the former Ukraine. And it's not only this. It's possible also next step is the blockade of Crimea. Ukrainian, not Ukrainian, Kiev Liberation Regime, they're making blockage of the, first of all, a water channel, which give the water to the Crimea from the river. It's not only. Next step is taking control of the Black Sea coast, which is also the way to the Black Sea coast. It's mostly pro-Russian regions stay exactly here, specifically Nikolaev, Zaporozhye, and Odessa, and also the way to the Pridnestrovia region, which was part of the Moldova, but also it's controlled by pro-Russian separatists.
So we have another question, I guess, sir, if you don't mind. Who wants to be next? Do you have any question up to?
Can I ask like
Yes.
really short question?
Yes.
I mean, like, which city did you say is pro-Russian?
Sorry,
Which
cities?
city?
What I say about pro-Russian cities? And,
Which city can you repeat, please?
Which city did you say pro-Russian?
Pro-Russian cities.
Pro-Russian cities.
Of course, except Donetsk, Lugansk, except them, Kharkov, Odessa, Nikolaev, Zaporozhye, and mostly Dnipropetrovsk, partly Sumy.
I mean, like in Sumy is mostly people, like maybe 60% is Ukrainian, speaking Ukrainian, and like 40 Russia, because like I was in Sumy and like mostly they speak in Ukrainian. I mean,
I'm sorry, I would disagree. I think that figures falsify, as already mentioned before. Majority of the people in Sumy will speak Russian language, but also this point also not only point of language, as your teacher very rightly told before. It's also I make my analysis also on the analysis of the result of the parliamentary and presidential elections in different Ukrainian regions when this election had been more or less free and fair. It means before the military coup of ultranationalists in 2014. If you make analysis of those elections, you can predict the result of the voting in such regions as Sumy and Dnipropetrovsk as more or less pro-Russian.
Okay,
and
thank you, sir.
also Sumy from a regional point of view. It's fully on the border with Russia, and Sumy has a lot of economic cooperation with Russian territory. Frankly speaking, because there's economically depressive regions, most of the people in Sumy, they had during many years their working place and their salaries and fares on Russian territory.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask a question from Abdulaziz? Go on, please.
Добрый вечер, Сергей Александрович. Спасибо за то, что вы с нами сегодня. You said the countdown started for the recognition of DNR and LNR if Kiev doesn't fulfill the obligations prescribed in the Minsk agreements.
Yes.
Then why is Zelensky not acting accordingly with the Minsk agreements? Why is he not fulfilling the obligations?
Because Minsk agreement implementation will mean the crashing of a repressive regime which conducts the policy of governmental terrorism. On one hand, it's classical, very simple agreement between central government and separatists, which will have, hundreds of such cases. But it includes that it should be amnesty, it should be interconnection between people. And in fact, it would mean that the system of repression against people in Donbass will be over. If so, people in Donbass will be able to come to Kiev. They will raise the question, who killed people in Odessa May 2nd? Who is responsible for this mass political killing? Who killed people in Mariupol in the May 9th? Who is responsible for this? who kill people in Dnieper on the March of the March of the 2014. Who kill people in Kharkov in the April of 2014, and it's appeared to be those who kill these people. They get a leading position in the Kiev regime, and if then it will be question about opening of the collective grace for the victims of mass repression, which in the around the Odessa, Kharkov, Dnieper, Zaporozhye, and another Russian city. If this grace will be open, the question will be who kills these people, who is responsible for this tremendous war crime and crimes about humanity. And then it appears to be that, the half of the members of Ukrainian parliament would be responsible for taking part in these crimes against humanity. So implementation of Minsk agreement means that step by step, it will be full crashing for those who get leading position in this Kiev regime, and instead of a position of minister, it will be prison for the 20, 30 years for them.
Okay, sir, if Russia would use a military force against Ukraine, how do you think that United States would react?
I think United States will react neutrally from a military point of view, but also we should divide differently. One, if Russia uses military force inside Donbass, United States will react very moderately.
Mm-hmm.
And if Russia will use its troops beyond Donbass in another pro-Russian regions, reaction of the United States will be much more strong. If you look at the Biden speech and his press conference, he used such term, which, a little bit jokingly, he told we should divide between major invasion and minor excursion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's almost same, but invasion and excursion also there are some difference between these two words. Yeah.
Okay.
So as a result, we see that will be sanctioned, but very much difference depend on either Russian troops only in Donbass or beyond it.
Okay. Suhaila, do you have any questions?
Yes, I wanted to ask if you think that in the future, USA and Russia could possibly become allies against China?
Yes, there are some possibility of this because there are a few things which can lead to this situation. First of all, both of them, Russia and United States, they are part of the European civilization in the big sense. They are on the edge, the province of big European civilization. Secondly, its civilization means culture,
religion,
and so they're very close from those point of view. So if the major Russia demands is stop hybrid aggression against Russia, if United States fully will stop its aggression against Russia, if United States will move to the policy which could be beneficial to Russia, I think not right now, not after this, but maybe after 5-7 years of such positive to Russia policy, Russia can step by step change its approach to this conflict between United States and China. But of course, if United States say, "Oh, look, we're going to this," Russia will not trust because now distrust between Russia and United States, it's tremendous.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. If there is no other questions, Eric, okay, go ahead. Last question.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I have one more question, and it's in regards to Belarus. So I want to clarify something really quickly. Is Belarus working with Russia on these military exercises that Russia is claiming to be doing?
Russia, yes, Belarus has, of course, joint military exercising with Russia, and now Belarus, from the beginning, it was very close to Russia. Then Alexander Lukashenko didn't get, during this integration with Russia, he been a little bit disagree with these 2 points which he doesn't like. First of all, his personal position. He don't want to be dismissed by any chief from Moscow sometime. And secondly, he wants to preserve his social economic model, which is more or less close to the Chinese model. I mean, what is implemented in Belarus. That's why Belarus started to move step by step toward the West. And Mike Pompeo, the state secretary in Trump administration, he visited Minsk, and he almost makes the deal between Washington and Minsk. But then Warsaw, very ambitious Polish politicians decided to be active, and they decided to overthrow Alexander Lukashenko. They organized mass rallies and so on and so on. And as a result, Alexander Lukashenko suppressed this protest organized by Poland, and then Western answered by tremendous sanction. It's moved to Alexander Lukashenko more close to Vladimir Putin and to Russia, and now he is very much a close ally to Russia as a result, and ready to take part in military operation against Kiev regime on the Ukrainian territory.
Eric, you want to go on?
Yeah, so the Belarus and Russia question was mainly just like a part to the question, because I just wanted to make sure that my information was correct. Anyways, there's been satellite imagery showing pontoon boats being formationed into a bridge north of the Pripyat River, about 5 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And Pripyat is about a 2-hour drive from Kiev. I would like to know your thoughts on why they would be building such a bridge that is typically used for military transportation, when considering more of the focus is on the eastern line of Ukraine.
It's almost eastern line of Ukraine. It's also Kiev. If military clashes will start, I think the control of the Kiev as the capital is becoming very important. It's very close to the Belarus, but not to the Russia. So there are big possibility is to make some offensive on the Kiev from Belarusian territory. But more important that, frankly speaking, Russia don't want to have war. Because we regarded Ukrainians as a part of our Russian nation, and even some of them disagree with this. And but a lot of them agree with this. Vladimir Putin published article about we are the same people, and then it was a sociology. Even under the oppressive regime, it was sociology which shows that 48% of the Ukrainian population agree with Vladimir Putin's main idea that we are the same people.
Okay, Alexander, do you agree with that?
48%. 48. But if you say that it's on the southern, in this part of Ukraine, it's already not 48, but already 70% agree with me in the political idea of Vladimir Putin. For our preference is not a war, but some kind of dancing which will crash those regimes.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your for this wonderful conversation. Alexander, do you have anything else to say or ask?
Yeah, I have just one question left. As you know, Ukraine is a sovereign, independent state. Ukraine has a right to independently from its foreign and domestic policy. Tell me, why does Russia believe that it has the right to influence the formation of Ukraine's policy? And after all, now it's Russia contrary to the internal documents of Ukraine, which assume Ukraine's entry into NATO that is doing everything possible to influence the NATO countries and block Ukraine's path to NATO in every possible way.
Okay, answering. First of all, about NATO new members and so on. There are two major principles, and there are contradictions. One of them is sovereign right of the country to join any military alliance what they want, and another is more high principle, which is part of the OCSC document, that it should be joint security. It means that countries should not increase own security with decreasing of another country's security. And we're saying, look, moving of NATO to the east is decreasing of our security, and we demand that if you sign OCSC documents about joint security, that it not shouldn't happen. It's about NATO. Another point is about Russian involvement in the Ukrainian domestic politics and so on. If you know, according to international law, human rights, it's not sense of only sovereignty of the countries. All documents of United Nations, OCSC, stress very much, very many times stress that the protection of human rights and the issue of violation of human rights, it's not just sovereign right of those countries. It means that thousands of political prisoners in Ukraine, it's not Ukrainian domestic policy. It's not sovereign only things. Hundreds of thousands of political refugees who live in Russia, and hundreds of them I know personally. It's not a Ukrainian issue. Ukraine should have the policy which give a right to those political refugees to come back. I would say even more strong. No one election in Ukraine can be regarded as free and fair without participation of the Viktor Yanukovych, former democratic president who has been overthrown by Kiev junta. You can be right, support or disagree with Yanukovych, but election without participation of Yanukovych, without his right to come to the people and say, look, you are the people, say what you think about this. It couldn't be regarded as a free and fair election. And a lot of another issue, also the issue of prohibition of the Russian language. It's also not the issue of the not sovereign issue of Ukraine.
Thank
and
you so
second,
much,
and last point, we don't regard Ukraine as sovereign country. We think that it should be sovereign country. The sovereignty should come back to the Ukrainian people. Now, this sovereignty stolen by United States of America, who makes the coup and who impose a repressive regime to Ukrainian people.
Alexander, is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, like that you said that like Mr. Yanukovych just like left the country, yeah, and by no, how did you say, like Kiev junta, like
Junta, yeah.
Junta. It's the junta. The junta is the government which took power by force and without the law. It's exactly what Kiev regime.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, I know, but like, do you know where did he go? Like,
yeah, he go to Kharkiv.
No.
Yes.
To Russia, to Rostov.
No. When he knows, no, you should come here and read these materials. You should read the history of your country. It's absolutely clear. Viktor Yanukovych can be overthrown when he been in Kharkiv, in the second biggest Ukrainian city.
Yeah, but actually, nobody thrown him. At first, he left by himself. He just like it was night.
No,
it was starting.
Okay.
It was also beginning
No,
like
Alexander, don't be victim of propaganda. Can you imagine Yanukovych, any president, left himself? No, he just left Kiev to Kharkov because junta who grabs power in Kiev wanted to kill him.
Okay.
So actually, you're saying that like I'm Ukrainian and I know like situation better, like what happened actually, because like I have like few siblings who is working in the government and who knows like where did he go. So like actually, I know,
Kharkov. In the moment when he been overthrown by junta, he been in Kharkov. Go and read.
Okay.
We can beat with you.
Sir, the only thing I would
make the
want to say, sir, if you don't mind, I mean, there are some countries that Russia has too much influence on, but we don't call them that they are occupied by Russia. I mean, there are many countries in Central Asia that Russia has a lot of influence. Russia has influence in Venezuela, but we're not saying that Venezuela is occupied by Russia. I think it is a little bit exaggeration saying that Ukraine is occupied by United States. We know that United States and European Union have some influence over Ukraine, but I think that it would be a little bit too far, to say that United States occupied Ukraine. But I definitely respect your comments and thank you so much for your joining us. I really appreciated your time. We really respect your comments, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you want to add, sir? Mr. Markov.
Okay. We should, one of the problems we have, everybody lying.
Okay.
Everybody lying. It's very difficult. I'm trying to be honest and I'm saying reality. Donetsk and Lugansk People Republic, they are separated by not independent. They're fully controlled by Russia. Abkhazia government, it's called independent, but it's fully controlled by Russia. Ukraine government, fully controlled by United States of America. Try to accept the truth, which may be not pleasant for you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to have you in our podcast. Have a wonderful day, sir. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
My pleasure.